Okay, imagine this. Your country's entire fuel supply is basically being held hostage by a geopolitical standoff. Now, that's not some movie plot, it was the reality for Serbia. It forced them to make a massive decision about their energy future, all while the clock was ticking down. Let's unpack how this incredible high-stakes energy game actually played out.
It all kicks off with this one number, 80%. That's how much of Serbia's entire fuel supply depends on just one company. I mean, we're not just talking about market dominance here. This is a national lifeline. From the buses you take to work to the hospitals, the whole economy is running on the fuel this single company produces.
So that raises a pretty massive question, right? What happens when that national lifeline gets tangled up in a global power struggle between the United States and Russia? Well, the answer is basically a geopolitical thriller, with an entire nation's stability just hanging in the balance.
To really get what's going on, we have to look at the main player at the center of it all. So let's break down Serbia's energy lifeline, the company that's known as NIS. You see, NIS is woven into the very fabric of the Serbian state. It's the country's biggest oil and gas company, and it runs the only oil refinery in the whole nation. It gives jobs to thousands of people and chips in up to 9% of the entire state budget. But here's the real kicker, the detail that changes everything. Since 2008, it's been majority owned by Russia's state-controlled energy giant Gazprom Neft. And that ownership, well, that's where all the trouble starts.
So yeah, that Russian ownership, it put NIS on a direct collision course with Western sanctions, and that, in turn, put Serbia's entire fuel supply on a ticking clock.
The force behind this whole crisis is an agency called OFAC. It's the part of the U.S. Treasury that enforces sanctions. The key thing you need to know here is their 50% rule. And it's actually pretty simple. If a company is 50% or more owned by someone on the U.S. sanctions list, then that company is also considered sanctioned. And with Gazprom Neft owning over 56% of NIS, the company was automatically in the crosshairs.
And boy, did things escalate fast. After the U.S. sanctioned Gazprom Neft back in 2022, the consequences slammed into NIS by early 2025. The crisis really hit its peak in December, when Serbia's only refinery was actually forced to shut down. A last-minute temporary waiver from the U.S. gave them some breathing room, but it came with an expiration date, January 23, 2026. A brand new, very urgent deadline was set.
And you really can't overstate how serious this was. As that shutdown was looming, the Serbian president, Aleksandar Vucic, he put it in the bluntest terms possible. He said, we could face a complete collapse of supply. This was a genuine existential threat to the country's ability to even function.
So, with the threat of total collapse hanging right over them, a frantic, high-stakes search for a solution kicked off. And this wasn't just another corporate negotiation. This was a flat-out race to secure an entire nation's energy future.
Just look at who's sitting around this negotiating table. You've got Serbia literally fighting for its economic survival. You've got Russia's Gazprom Neft being forced to sell off a major strategic asset. The frontrunner to buy it is Hungary's MOL Group, a big oil and gas company that sees a chance to expand its power in the region. The UAE's state oil company, ADNOC, is in the mix too. And who holds veto power over the whole thing? The United States. Any deal, was dead on arrival without their approval.
So the objective was crystal clear. Get that Russian ownership stake below the 50% line before the waiver ran out. A simple goal, right? Well, with so many powerful interests in the room and that clock ticking away, the path to getting it done was anything but.
All right, so what did this solution actually look like on paper? Let's take a look at the proposed new ownership map and really visualize how control over Serbia's energy lifeline was about to change big time.
First up, here's the before picture. You can see the Russian entities, that's Gazprom Neft and an affiliate. They controlled a combined stake of over 56%. That put it way over OFAC's 50% red line. At the same time, the Serbian state itself held just under 30%.
And now, here's the proposed after picture. Talk about a dramatic shift. The entire Russian stake of over 56% would be bought up by Hungary's MOL Group. Just like that, the Russian ownership vanishes, and it's replaced by a new majority owner from an EU country. This one move was designed to solve the whole sanctions problem in one go.
But here's a really key detail for Serbia in all this. As part of the deal, they managed to secure a 5% increase in their own stake. Now, this isn't just symbolic. Pushing their ownership up to nearly 35% gives them much broader decision-making rights and more power to protect their national interests, a pretty significant upgrade from where they were before.
Okay, so this deal is way more than just a corporate transaction. It really represents a major geopolitical shuffle. Let's unpack what this great power shuffle really means for Serbia, for Russia, and for the whole region.
So what are the biggest takeaways here? Well, first, Serbia gets to keep the lights on. It secures its energy supply and averts a total collapse. Second, Russia loses direct control over a key strategic asset, which reduces its influence in the Balkans. Third, Hungary's power in the region grows, making it a much bigger player in energy security. And finally, and this is crucial, the entire deal depends on a green light from Washington, which really shows you who holds the ultimate leverage here.
And that brings us to the final big question. Was this whole thing a masterclass in crisis diplomacy pulled off by a small nation caught between giants? Or is it a fundamental sign of shifting loyalties and redrawn spheres of influence in a rapidly changing Europe? The truth is, it's probably a bit of both. And it just goes to show that in the world of energy, the flow of power is every bit as important as the flow of oil.